When I was watching a Yuval Noah Harari interview, and it was giving meditation related advice. It was pretty deep. I thought it could be applied to different areas of life as well. So the idea was, when you give your mind two things to do, it's going to default to the easier out of the two options. If you had two goals in mind, it's usually going to go to the easier one. And he gave that advice in the context of meditation, where if you were to give yourself a goal such as sitting for long periods of time without moving, and you were to take that to the extreme, that seems like a pretty hard goal. But compared to the harder goal of sitting and observing your sensations and not reacting to them, and not reacting when we're meditating, that's actually a much harder goal than sitting for long hours without moving. So to sit for long hours without moving is much easier than to sit for even 10 minutes or 20 minutes without reacting or continuously keeping our awareness on our breath. So I feel like that is such an important reminder, because sometimes in life we set out to do hard things, but there are actually other things that we're avoiding or that we're forgetting about. Maybe we're not actively avoiding it, but then by setting out to do something hard, we're actually forgetting about, or not having enough space, or not making time to do the thing that we're actually meant to do. And it's because the hard thing that we're doing is actually relatively easy compared to what we should be doing, what we're avoiding purposely or otherwise. I think it's pretty subtle, and it's subtle because it's easy to conflate doing something hard with it being worthwhile, because it often is. And it's easy to tell ourselves that doing a hard thing now is the right thing, or it justifies not doing the thing that perhaps we know that we should be doing. And that thing is harder relatively to what we're doing right now. It might not be technically harder, or take more time, or something like that, but it could be psychologically harder, or it could be just something we really don't want to do, so we're distracting ourselves by keeping busy with other things. When I'm working, it's easy to fall into the habit of trying to be really productive and having high output and get things done at an impressive rate or on time. However, for me at least, what's harder is to work with a balanced mind, which is to go about my day, and especially when coding or confronted with a challenging problem, or sometimes it's a problem that it isn't actually that challenging, but it was more challenging than I'd anticipated, which causes some frustration and agitation whilst solving it. So what would be more ideal for me, and what I'd like to aspire to more, is to work with a balanced mind and to approach problems quantumously, where I don't get frustrated by unexpected rabbit holes I need to go down, or I don't get irritated when things take longer than expected. To me, that's actually much harder to work in that way, in that mode, than doing things with a high output or just getting tasks done quickly. So for me at least, that's an example where if I lose sight of the goal, the hard goal, to do it in a balanced way, that sort of aspiration is just gonna be forgotten about, and I get distracted by trying to get things done quick, or just trying to solve the problem without consideration for whether my mind's reacting or not whilst doing it. I think for me, if I were to focus on working in a balanced way, the work's going to get done at a good rate, most likely, regardless. So if I focus on the hard goal, the other hard goal is not going to get forgotten about. But if I focus on the goal of just working quickly, or just doing things productively from an external point of view without emphasizing the mind, then the goal where I'm meant to be working in a balanced way is definitely going to be forgotten. So it's something, after listening to that interview, I'm much more aware of this week. And yeah, I think the cool thing about that principle is that it's so abstract, it can almost apply to everybody. Like, I think everybody avoids things sometimes it's so obvious when we're avoiding it. Say I'm meant to go to the gym, but then I just binge eat ice cream, which is an extreme example. But say if you were to do that, like, it's so obvious, right? The self-awareness is there that you've avoided something you were trying to do and you've actually done something counterproductive. But if I were to like avoid going to the gym and I kept working and I was solving a hard problem, it's like, well, that's valuable, therefore it's easier to justify, though often the right thing to do would be to just stop working after hours or stop working when you're too tired and just take that time to take a break and go to the gym and do things that are valuable and important and healthy in general, and they often help you recover and work more effectively anyway. That's not the main point. I think we need to prioritize our health anyway. So anyway, that's my ramble for today. I think it's a really cool point. It's been in front of my mind recently, so I wanted to share it. It's the idea that we need to be careful, because sometimes we do hard things that aren't necessarily the right thing to do at the time, but it's harder to see that because they're hard. Because hard things often conflated with being valuable. They often are, but not all the time, and they can be valuable at a certain time but not at others. And it's also because doing hard things tires us out to the extent where our judgment is hampered and we might just be too tired to care afterwards about doing what we're avoiding or what we should be doing. Anyway, that's it for today. Hope it was useful, and keen to hear what people think. Alright, catch you on the flip side.